All right, hey everybody, Dr. Sean Talbot here. Hey, I'm going to give you a quick race report from a race that I did this weekend. So it's Monday right now, over the weekend, starting Saturday night at 10 p.m. I did a race called the Midstate Massive Ultra Trail Race. So there's the cup that I got for finishing the race. Kind of a cool ultra race. It started at 10 p.m. and so it ran through the night. I finished right around a little before 11 a.m. So it took me 12 hours and 51 minutes, which was great. I felt good about that. I came in third in my age group. I came in something like, what did I come in? 41st overall. There were 126 starters, but only 89 finishers. So something like 30% of the starters dropped out, what we call DNF, did not finish. There was also a 100-miler happening at the same time. So the 100-milers started on Saturday in the day. You know, some of them started in the morning, some of them started a little bit later. And it's a wave start, right? So you seed yourself based on your estimated finish time. Completion time. So I'll talk more about that in a second. So the 100-mile, the reason this race is cool is because the Midstate Trail in Massachusetts goes from the border of Massachusetts and New Hampshire all the way across the state of Massachusetts to the border of Massachusetts and Connecticut, Rhode Island, right? So you end up, if you do the 100-miler, you get to go through 4 states in one day, or in however long it takes you. There's probably a 32-hour cutoff or something like that. So anyway, in that race, in the 100-mile race, there was more than a 50% dropout rate. So this is a pretty tough race. It's sort of up and down the whole time. It doesn't have the huge elevation gains that you see out in races in Colorado and Utah and places like that. In fact, I'm wearing a Leadville race series. You know, out there you're climbing up 11,000, 12,000, 13,000 feet in some of these races. New England doesn't have that sort of elevation. So it was a lot up and down, a lot of rocks, a lot of roots, a lot of leaves covering everything. And so, I feel pretty good about how I finished. Less than 13 hours. My goal time was 12, and so I seeded myself to start with a pretty fast wave, right? Because I was thinking I could do it in 12 or so, and so that was one of the sources of frustration for the first parts of the race. So it was frustrating start. Started at pitch black at night, 10 o'clock. It was starting to get cold. My light that I had wasn't really working all that well, and so I had to finagle with that for a little while, and it kept falling off, and it wasn't on the right setting, and blah 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 blah. The trail was really technical, so I was sort of sliding around. I probably made a wrong shoe choice for the first part of the race, not thinking it was going to be that technical. And I didn't have another pair of shoes until my drop bag at mile 30, which I wasn't going to see for a while. So all of that was just frustrating me at the beginning, right? So now I'm at the way back of my wave because I started with a bunch of fast people. So they've left me. Now I'm all alone in the woods. And at one point I just had to go, take a breath, stop, kind of hit the reset button and go, okay, what's under my control here? All right, I can fix my light. I can get that all set up. I can not try to be hurrying and try to keep up with people who are clearly faster than me on this, really technical trail. Settle in to what I can control. I can control what pace I go. I can control that I don't, try to go too fast and twist an ankle. I can control, now that my light is fixed, I can see where I'm going. I can make sure that I hydrate. I can make sure that I eat. I can make sure I do all that kind of stuff. I didn't listen to music during this race. I wanted to sort of be out there with the forest. In the nighttime, it's actually kind of cool to listen to the leaves falling, and there's some pretty magical moments where there was wasn't quite a full moon, but it was a pretty big moon, so it gave us a lot of light to be able to see everything that we were going through. And it's fall in New England, so there's all that sort of stuff going on. So that was all great. Another great thing was that every 5 to 7 miles or so, there was an aid station with great, enthusiastic aid station workers, right? I shout out to them. They did such a great job of keeping us hydrated and keeping us fueled and see if we needed anything. So like all that kind of stuff is great. So, did the race, finished the race, had a great experience. And now today, what am I doing? Like, I got a good night's sleep. When I finally got home from the race, I got a good night's sleep. Now I'm hydrating like crazy. I was definitely dehydrated. I woke up with a huge dehydration headache this morning. It kind of feels like a hangover, actually. And I didn't do any drinking yesterday. So I'm really making sure that I hydrate, replacing my salt, replacing my electrolytes, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to hit the massage chairs. I'm going to hit the red light therapy wall here at 3 Waves. I'll probably get in the float bed. I will probably do some contrast therapy, getting in the hot plunge, the hot tub, and then the cold plunge, go back and forth to help my tissues sort of like expel all the damage that I've done, get the circulation in there with the heat and get the circulation out of there with the cold, get that going. I'll have a nice dinner tonight. I'll get another good night's sleep. I'll do all that kind of stuff. I'll make sure I'm taking my probiotics and my postbiotics and all that kind of stuff to lower down my inflammation, lower down my cortisol, make sure I get good sleep quality, all that kind of stuff. That's what this is all about. We just recently launched our new product called Zenith, gut-brain resilience for everyday excellence, right? This isn't a sports product per se. It's not for athletes per se. It's about you getting the most out of you. So when we do these races, right, it's great I came in third in my age group. It's great I came in 41st overall, like the sort of top third of people who are doing the race. That isn't why you do the races, to compete against other people. You also don't do it for the silly little medal that they give you when you finish, and you don't do it for the cool thermos cups that they give you. Those are all nice little things. These races aren't about competing against other people. They're about competing against yourself, right? Challenging yourself to do something. So, ultra races, the main reason that I do them is because it's a test of resilience. It's a test of your endurance, but it's also a test of your mind. It's a test of how are you feeling when you're out there? Can you challenge yourself? The thing that I'm most proud about is that I had that sort of rocky start at the beginning, and I reminded myself to reset and, come back and have a good race. So I had a great race throughout the race. Had a couple rough patches here and there. Your energy dips, and you get a little cranky, and you get a little tired, and your legs start to hurt, and all that kind of stuff. But I actually went off course a couple of times. The course could have been marked better, I guess, but everybody had the same markings, right? So it was a 50-mile race. I ended up getting about 51.3 on my GPS watch. So I did go off course a few times, but go off course, come back on, reset, keep going. And at the very end of the race, I just, the last 7 miles, got to the last aid station, knew it was 7.2 miles to get to the finish line. And I just said, all right, if I'm going to, get as close to my 12-hour goal as possible, I got to pick it up here. So I ran most of the way for the rest of the way that I could, where it wasn't too technical. So I feel pretty good about that, right? I was able to, kind of rise to the occasion. That's what everyday excellence is about. Resilience is about getting in a stressful situation and being able to navigate your way through that. Figure out what you need to do, set up a strategy, solve the problem, and move forward. That's what everyday excellence is about too. It's not about being the winner, right? I don't win these races. I'm not capable of those sorts of things, but I'm capable of going out there and having a fun time and challenging myself. And that's what I did. So, thanks for watching. I hope you guys will check some of these races out sometimes. These races can be really cool, and you don't have to be a super duper athlete to do them. I say to people all the time, if you want to do an ultra sometime, if you can train for a marathon, like a regular 26.2 mile marathon, and lots of people finish marathons every single year. If you can do that, you can do an ultra. So you could start with a 50 kilometers, which is a little over 31 miles. You could do a 50 miler like what I just did, which is a little over 2 marathons. 100 milers are a little bit different. They're really like a pacing strategy, and you have to have a crew, and it's an undertaking in terms of logistics, but they're definitely doable. They're definitely fun. It's a great community of people, lots of camaraderie, where you're out there racing against yourself in a collective atmosphere, right? So you're not really racing against that guy. In fact, you're probably encouraging that guy.